Hi there, my name is David Patient. I have the dubious distinction of being one of the longest documented survivors in the world today living with HIV. I was diagnosed on the 13th of March 1983 on my 22nd birthday. Needless to say, back in those days there was very little known about the disease, so discrimination was rampant, fear was rampant, and justifiably so. We didn't know how the disease was spread. But over the years, we've become more familiar with the disease. We've become more familiar with how to manage the disease. It's no longer a disease that kills people. It's a chronic manageable disease. In fact, if I was given the choice between diabetes and living with HIV, I would choose HIV hands down. It's a much easier disease to live with. The reason for me making this video is that I've always found that the issues around HIV that created stigma, that created discrimination, were in essence issues of morality. Was I a bad person? Did I deserve it? Had I done something wrong? Was God punishing me? And a lot of society attached a lot of moral value to the fact that I was a person living with HIV. I consider myself to be a good, kind, compassionate person. I've committed the last 30 odd years of my life to social development. I've spent the last 16, 20 years living back in South Africa, where I'm from, helping in community development, etc. So I feel as an HIV positive person, I'm making a substantial contribution. And I think that's one of the things that people think when a person is diagnosed with HIV, that they no longer have a value, that they no longer have a contribution that they can make. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Having lived on the other side of bigotry my entire life, as a gay man and now also as a man who's living with HIV, I've never quite understood why we took the moral high ground on HIV. If you understand the science of transmission, if you understand how HIV is transmitted from one person to another, you'll realize that it actually has nothing to do with morality at all. It's all about transmission. So if you don't know about it and you think you do know about it, I suggest you do a bit of homework around the issue. Because the reality is when someone gets a cold or flu or picks up some other kind of viral infection, very seldom do we ask the question, well, where did you get it from? What were you doing? What were you wearing? You know, like any of that is actually relevant to the fact that I live with a sexually transmitted infection that had the potential of taking my life. And the reality is it didn't. I'm still here. I'm still going strong. I still contribute vastly to my community as much as I possibly can. And I feel like as a person living with HIV and AIDS, I have a lot to say. I have a lot to contribute. I also feel as a person living with HIV and AIDS, I have been exposed to people, I've been exposed to cultures, I've been exposed to communities, I've been exposed to things that I would never normally have been exposed to. And it's made me take a long, hard look at myself. And I've had to look at myself at a spiritual level, at an emotional level, and really kind of develop into this person who I've become today, who I hope inspires and at some level provokes people. I think we need to rethink our whole strategy around HIV/AIDS and move it away from this whole morality issue. And let's just look at the science of the disease and how transmission takes place and how we can reduce infections. If you've got somebody who you know and love who's HIV positive, just give them support. They don't need you. They don't need your sympathy. What they need from you is somebody who's proactive, somebody who says, "Did you take your pills? What were your latest CD4 counts? How's your viral load doing?" You know, get actively involved in it, but don't make it the focus. I am David Patient. I am not HIV. My body has HIV, but I, at a soul level, if you will, do not have HIV. So the question I want to raise to all of you who are watching this video is most of you have some kind of religious belief, some kind of religious value system that you live by. If you look into your value system, I can assure you that nowhere in your scriptures or nowhere in your holy books does it say that you should discriminate against people. So if you're a Christian, the example I would use is, well, how would Jesus deal with a situation when confronted with somebody who was HIV positive? Would he be judgmental, or would he be compassionate, and would he treat them like he did the lepers? Not that I'm saying that HIV positive people are like lepers, I'm simply trying to draw an analogy. So most religions in the world support the connection and the empathy towards people who are living with conditions that we are unfamiliar with. So my challenge to you is to find somebody who's HIV positive, become their friend, take the time and the energy to get to know them. It may just change your whole experience. And remember, I'm a person living with HIV. I'm not a person dying from the disease.